Reading can never be easy for me. It can never be simple. I have to make it complicated. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria. If you are new here, welcome. If you are not new here, welcome back. Please subscribe down below and hit that little bell icon so you'll be notified that I am posting, and give me a big thumbs up so YouTube knows that you like my videos. But today, I wanted to be talking about one of the reading challenges that I am trying to complete this year, which is Read the Rainbow. So, in my reading journal, I have a page talking about all of the different colors that I want to try and fit onto the covers that I'm reading. Because I'm primarily a fantasy reader, a lot of the books that I read are primarily like black or very dark blue, or they're not very diverse in their colors. So, this is a way for me to not only branch out into reading more romance novels, because that's primarily where the colors are probably going to come from, but also some literary fiction, some nonfiction, and things like that. What I have for you today is not only going to be some recommendations for some books that I have read of the rainbow in the past, but also what I kind of want to try and read this year that I physically have on my TBR. But if there are any that I've already like can find on as an audiobook, then I will also pick that up as well. I'm going to start with the recommendations first. So, actually, I have already completed two colors this year. The first one is red, and the second one is green. So, the red book that I finished was Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that also has some Greek god elements to it that made it really, really unique to the story, that like allowed some further depth into the Beauty and the Beast story. I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. I loved it. I can't believe it has been sitting on my shelves for as long as it has, and I'm glad I finally got to it. But if you enjoy a morally gray love interest and a morally gray female main character, even more so, then I highly recommend this. The green one that I have already finished for this year was Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear by Shauna McGuire. This is not going to be my recommendation for this specific video because I don't own a physical copy, but I do highly recommend this series. This is the 10th and possibly final book in the Wayward Children series. They are little novellas that are literally all less than 100, or less than 200 pages. So I highly recommend them if you're looking for something to get you out of a reading slump. But these stories follow these group of children that are kind of like the Alice in Wonderland and Narnia kids of the real world that end up finding themselves walking through doors into their perfect worlds. And these stories follow them having coming back from their perfect world and trying to acclimate into the real world, but then also spending time in their world as well to explore these magical and whimsical worlds that these children find perfect to them. The next color on my rainbow is orange, and the I had a hard time finding an orange book that I've read that wasn't A Court of Silver Flames, especially because, well, that is actually the original color, I guess, if you're calling that one the paperback. But I had a hard time finding a book that I have read that was fully orange or like close to orange. And this one, I actually don't even really consider orange. It's more of like a red orangey color, but I still wanted to talk about it, which is The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane by Lisa C. So as you can see, it's like kind of reddish, kind of orangish, but I think I would count this for orange. This follows a woman named Leanne who lives in a really remote village in China, and it follows her throughout her entire life. And as she grows older, she ends up having a daughter, and then we also intermittently follow her daughter's life as well. And this had really great conversations on, I guess is the word, colonialism, but essentially trying to erase people's ethnic ideas and their practices that are thousands and thousands of years old just for the sake of profit. But she lives in a village that mainly is their main source of income are tea orchards and farms. And so there is a man who comes and he ends up trying to profit off of the tea farms that these people live off of. So I would highly recommend it. It has some really great conversations on growing up and being allowed to decide for yourself whether or not you want to be living in the way that you grew up, and the conflicts of deciding for yourself what you want to believe in instead of just going along with what your family has been telling you to do. So I highly recommend it. The next color on our rainbow is yellow, and I actually didn't have a lot of yellow books that I didn't consider like gold, I guess, to recommend. But this is also kind of a cross between a yellow and an orange. I think it's more of a mustard yellow, but Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This I read this most recently, like I think in November or December of last year, and I read it for book club, and now I am making my other book club read it as well because it is just so amazing. This follows a wide range of characters that are all held up in a hostage situation by a bank robber, and it also like intermingles parts of their lives like that led up to them being in this apartment that is being held up for robbery. And it's just a book about people, and it's a book about how we could all be better, or we may think we're all perfect, but in reality there are so many ways that we can improve or that we could help others. I highly recommend it. Next on our rainbow is green, and this is the one that I am adding in my physical recommendation list, which is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. So, this is a very green book, as you can see from all of the trees, but then also look at these edges. Oh my god. I had originally read this book as a library book that I had checked out, and when they came out with this paperback edition, I had to add it to my collection. Oh my gosh, is this gorgeous! This is a Pinocchio retelling, but instead of a man making a puppet, this is about a android making a human. So, oh my gosh, is this story absolutely amazing. I love TJ Klune's works, and they are queer and just absolutely perfect. There's not much more that I can say about this other than there are talking robots that make this book absolutely hilarious. When I first started reading this book, not only did I have the library copy, but I had the audiobook, which is amazing, by the way. But I was at the gym and I was listening to these robots just talking and making jokes and talking about flirting, and I just I just love this book so much. I'm due for a reread at this point. It was just so good. I highly recommend it. If you love TJ Klune's other works, then I highly recommend this. I don't know if this is a good place to start for him if you have not read any of his books before, but I know that you can kind of just start everywhere. My first book of his was Under the Whispering Door. I know a lot of people's favorite is House of the Cerulean Sea. I just read Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the second one in that series, and I just I love it so much. Next is blue, and blue has such a wide range of colors. You can go from baby blue to a deep navy blue, and I only wanted to pick one blue because I thought that that wouldn't be fair to the other colors. So I ended up picking a baby blue, which is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This is a plus size retelling of Cinderella, and it's a bachelor type show or bachelorette type show where she is the bachelorette, but she only goes on the show so that she can try and get marketing for her shoe business and her shoe design agency. And so this was amazing. If you love the Bachelor Bachelorette type shows, this is a great story to read because it shows more of like the back end of what the show would be. So you get all of the behind the scenes, all the people that are like the producers and the directors and whatever. So you're getting more than just the manufactured drama that those shows bring. I'm not actually the biggest fan of the Bachelor Bachelorette shows, reality TV, to be honest. The fact that I loved this was absolutely like astounding to me, but I have also read One to Watch, which is kind of the same plot about a plus size main character who goes on like a dating show. So if you have already read this, I would also really recommend that one. But this is a the first in the series of the Meant to Be series, which is all Disney princess retellings. The second one would have really worked for Pink, but I didn't want to showcase the series twice, which is by the book by Jasmine Guillory, I think. She's up there, so I can't really see who it is. But I love this entire series. They're not It's a series that's not made by the same authors, so there's different authors that are collaborating in this series. They're not interconnected in any way. I think you can read them out of order. I just prefer to read things in order. So I read this one I think back in like 2019 or 2020 maybe. And I just read By the Book last year, and so I highly recommend this series if it's something that hasn't been on your radar. But this one's good. Next on our rainbow is Purple, and this is a book that I read quite a long time ago, because it is a YA novel. But if you are still into YA, I would highly recommend this one, which is How Moon Fuentes Fell in Love with the Universe by Raquel Vasquez Gilead. How do I explain this book? It's about self discovery and trying to be unique in a world that it's kind of hard to find out who you are. So, Moon Fuentes is a twin, and her twin sister is a social media influencer. But Moon Fuentes is always the one who was behind the camera. She wanted to be helping her sister, but just not in the limelight. And it's about her finding her own identity away from her sister and just being who she wants to be. There's some magical realism in it, and it's just beautiful and gorgeous. Like, look at this cover. I absolutely love it. And if you need some Latina representation, you got it right here. But I can never stop gushing about this book. I honestly love it so much. Our next color on the spectrum is pink, and this is another YA novel that I read quite a few years ago actually. But what's funny is that the second book is going to be in my TBR pile over there. But the book is A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor. This is about a girl named Lila Reyes who ends up being sent to London to live with one of her aunts by her family, who believes that she is just needing to get out of the place. Where she lives, she ends up just going through a bunch of hard stuff all at the same time and just needs a break from life. And so, because she has this opportunity to get away, she does, and is starting to try and find her life outside of the plan that she had for herself. So it's a cute little romance. It's adorable. I love it so much. These characters were so cute. I loved the London setting. And because when I read this, I had just recently been to London, it just felt awesome to be in this England setting and just all of it. I highly recommend it if you still read it YA. I don't know if I would ever read it again just because I'm getting out of my YA era, but it was still so good when I read it, so I highly recommend it. Next on our spectrum is Black, and this is one that I read just last year and absolutely adored it. I made my workbook club read it, which in hindsight may not have been the best idea considering that this character is very vulgar. But this is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I was recommended to this by one of my book besties over on TikTok, and I can't wait to get to Harrow the Ninth. This story, it wasn't exactly what I expected. I did really enjoy it, but there wasn't as much of like a relationship as the tagline says there's gonna be. Like, the tagline literally is lesbian necromancers explore a haunted gothic palace in space. And when you specifically outright call out that they are lesbians, I'm assuming there's going to be a sapphic romance element to it. And it didn't really hit as much. It felt more like a just really strong friendship to me, where they came to a like common understanding of mutual respect, but also they had the feelings of like, I can't live without you being alive type of feeling. I don't know. It just felt really weird to me, but the rest of the story was absolutely amazing. There are trials and mystery and death and just, oh my gosh, it left me at the edge of my seat all the time. I love this book. It has been a while since this like a book has left me like physically unable to like word vomit about it, I guess. I literally just am in awe of it. And yes, everybody and their mother should read this. Next on the spectrum is White, and this is a book that I read quite a few years ago. There are not that many books that I can really pull out right now that are white and that I've could recommend, I guess, but this one I absolutely adored. This is Winterwood by Shea Earnshaw. It says, "Be careful of the dark, dark wood, especially the woods surrounding the town of Fairhaven. Some say these woods are magical, cursed even." So it is about a witch named Nora Walker who lives in a cabin at the edge of a lake that is across from like a summer camp. And it's about this boy who comes and talks to her and won't leave her alone essentially, and it's just about their relationship and their friendship and the mystery that is going on across the lake. And it is so good. I remember being completely captivated by it. I can't really remember most of the details, and if I do, the details that I do remember are really spoilery, so I can't really say much, but I just remember being in total shock, and there was an element that I didn't see coming, which was crazy to me, that it actually was super obvious seeing it in hindsight. And so I think I just wasn't as critical of a reader back then. I'm actually curious to see that if I were to reread it now, if I could see it coming. But that's also hard to say because I know it's coming, so I could look for those things. So, I don't know, but I recommend it if you're looking for something magical and spooky and kind of like an isolated setting. My last color is brown, so this is the last book in my recommendation section, and the next section will be my TBR of the same color spectrum. But my brown book is Quality Land by Mark U. Kling. This is a German translated novel about, honestly, where America is heading. If you are terrified about the oligarchy that America is becoming, that's literally what this novel is about. It is about the corporation of not Quality Land, but of let me see. It is about a company named The Shop, and if you can tell by the cover who they're making fun of, but it is about this shop that not only have they taken over like your every wish and whim, they literally are taking over the government. They I think one of the funniest things that I can say about this book is that at the very beginning of this book, probably about, not even 50 pages in, his the main character's girlfriend breaks up with him, and these people have chips implanted in their brains that are, or like in their ears, that are connected to their subconscious, that for, if you wish for absolutely anything, like if you wish you could have a bottle of wine delivered, or a case of beer, or you wish that you had those new pair of shoes that you saw on the window, it will automatically get delivered to your door. And so the fact that his girlfriend broke up with him, they were out on a like dinner date, and by the time he got home, a six pack of beer was waiting for him on his doorstep. And when he finished that six pack of beer, another six pack of beer showed up on his doorstep. So that is just one of the funniest things that this book like happens. But that's the thing about wanting in your subconscious. One day, and I'm not even going to say what it is because I feel weird talking about it, but something shows up at his door that he doesn't want. And so he starts to question the system, starts to question about why this is something the system deems him wanting, when in reality, it is nowhere near something that he would actually be capable of using or wanting. And so he goes on this whole journey of trying to return the stupid item that was delivered to him, that the program and the AI believes that he wants. This one also has, like in the Lives of Puppets, it has a great cast of android characters, so it makes it really funny to have a bunch of robots be your characters. And it's a really great novel. Granted, I for more than halfway through this book, I wasn't sure whether or not I loved or hated this book, simply because of how scarily accurate it feels like our current day America. So, if you want something that will not only make fun of it, but also shed some light on how the state of the world is, this is the book for you. Even though I have already read Two Colors from the Rainbow this year, I or that was a majority of those colors. I still have included the full list of the TBR. So just in case you have read any of the books that are on on my recommendations list, these are the ones that you could also possibly read because I'll be reading them. So for Red, I have Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zanner or Zonner. I know nothing about this. I just love H Mart and I bought it. I know it's a nonfiction. I know it's a memoir about this woman who is trying to come to terms with grief after her mother died. Yes, her mother died of cancer. And so it's her coming to terms with her cultural identity and where to go where you're when you're feeling lost about who you are as a person. And so I need to really get to this. This is on my 25 books to read in 2025 list for this year. So I definitely will be trying to get to this. This is on like my anticipated TBR. Like it's not even on my shelves, it's on my TBR cart. So that if I ever am inclined to pick up a nonfiction, this is going to be the one that I pick up. The orange book in my TBR pile is A Pirate's Life for Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This is the second book in the Tomes and Tea series. The first one is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. This will actually be in a vlog at some point in the next couple months of me reading books that have tea in the title. I have quite a few actually, which was a little funny to find out. But even though this is kind of like a softer orange, the edges are very, very orange. So this would definitely count in my opinion because I don't really have much else, to be honest. But this follows some characters that we meet in the epilogue of the previous novel. So there's not really much I know about this series or this novel, to be honest. But the first one actually follows these two women who are in a relationship, and they one of them is a palace guard to a ruling matriarch who is ruthless. Like nobody can betray her, everything is treason. Just trying to be yourself is treason, essentially. And so, and the other one is the like most powerful mage in the entire country. And they decide to run away together. And so the palace guard essentially commits treason by running away. And they decide to open a book and tea shop. And it was just the coziest thing that I've probably ever read. I absolutely adored it. Their maid was fighting dragons, and it was just amazing. It had so much community and so much acceptance of who they were and how they decided to start over their lives in a new place. But this one follows another group of ladies who have their own pirate ship. And that's all I needed to know. It's said that they are on a hunt for dragon eggs uh to oh, so the two women who I guess they are in this novel. I really wanted to go into it blind, but this follows the two women from the first novel, and they are on the hunt for dragon eggs to save their hometown, but they end up finding these two women who are on this pirate ship who help them on their journey. So I'm excited to now have more sapphic romance in a fantasy setting. That is one of my favorite things to read. It is just so cozy and perfect and amazing. And I love pirate stories, so I can't wait to read this. The yellow book that I actually have that I wanted to be slotted for this is not a physical book that I own, which is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is on my 25 books to read in 2025, so it is highly anticipated for me. I just don't own it. So, as to per my rules, I wanted to find a book that was yellow that was actually on my physical shelves that I want to be reading. I had quite a few, but I didn't know what to choose, how to choose it. So I ended up going for a fantasy novel that does look a little bit more gold, I will say, but for me, yellow and gold are kind of within the same spectrum. So I think it counts. But this is This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. She is the author of the Shatter Me series, which I also have not read. Which is It's on my 25 books to read in 2025. I will get to it this year, I promise. I didn't need to know much about it. I just knew about Tara Mafi and I knew her writing was amazing. So I ended up picking this up from like a library book sale. It was super, super cheap. I'm surprised that anybody gave this away, but I'm excited. I know nothing about it and I intend to keep it that way. Next is a green novel, which is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Um, this is about Faye, I think, and about a woman who um has half a soul because I think she bargained away half of her soul. I ended up starting it quite a few years back, but I think I tried a chapter and put it down to choose for something else and never picked it back up. But it's a Regency era. Faye, she doesn't really have emotions because she only has half a soul, so I'm excited to see that, I guess, exploration of a character that doesn't really have their emotions play out on page. So we'll see. I don't really do historical fiction, to be honest. And if I do, it has to be in a fantastical setting like this. So I'm hoping that it works for me because this this sounds like it could be amazing. I know that I've seen this on lists of like really cozy novels and cozy fantasy novels, and I'm looking for more of those, so I hope to read it soon. Speaking of cozy fantasy novels, my blue book for this pile is A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanata. Again, don't nothing about this. I just know it's about a witch who ends up working for she becomes a nanny, I think. Yeah, I think so. That's all I know. That's all I really care to know. I love cartoon covers like this. This really reminds me of the X Hex, like that series of books where it's just a magical, cozy, cartoony novel. And um I really wanted to read it last year, but I just never got a chance to. And so I think I might be planning on doing a reading vlog sometime in September and October that is books that all have witches or witch in the title. I have quite a few because witches are one of my favorite things to see in a novel. It's honestly so much fun to have magic be brought back into my life. And so I really hope to read this year. And now we come to Purple, which this is the second book in the A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, which is a British girl's guide to hurricanes and heartbreak. This follows one of the characters that we meet in A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow. I think it's the little sister of the male main character, if I'm not mistaken. It's just so cute. It's absolutely adorable. I love the purple. It goes all the way around, and the undercover as well. But that's all I need to know. Um, I'm not sure where this takes place, to be honest. Oh, so this one takes place in Miami. So I think that she ends up possibly going to go visit um the main character in A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, because that's where she originally is that she lives in Miami. So it could be that she goes to Miami to be with her or kind of try to do the opposite of trying to escape. So who knows? But I have been meaning to get to this for a really long time. It's really hard now that I'm not that into YA about deciding about whether or not this is still for me, but I think I'm gonna still give it a try. My pink book is one that I've had on my shelves for way, way too long. and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This title is definitely a mouthful. That was like the second or third time I had to record that clip. So I hope I got it through. But I just know that this follows the first son and the second prince of England. So like the first son of the United States and the second prince of England and their relationship. And that's all I needed to know. I just think that that's such an amazing concept that I absolutely need to pick this up. This is one of the only covers that is like truly like solid pink on my shelves. I have other pink books, but they have some sort of other colors incorporated with them. This one does as well, but it's mainly the lettering. The whole background is literally just pink. So I need to read this. I have many black books that are on my TBR. It was very hard to choose one that was like primarily black to fill in this black spot. But I ended up picking Serpent and Dove by Shelby Marin. I've had this on my shelf for way too long. I know nothing about this book at all. I don't know a character's name. I don't know a plot. I think it might be witch hunters. I think. The back doesn't really have much. It says, bound as one to love, honor, or burn. A witch and a witch hunter thrust into holy matrimony. There was only one way such a story could end, a stake and a match. So I was right. Witches. Which, again, is something that I absolutely adore. So this is probably going to be for me. It is a chunker, though. Not that I'm not reading chunkers. My next book is going to be Well of Ascension. So I'll probably get to it soon. This next book for the color white is actually going to be on a list that comes out on Monday for my 10 books that are going to self destruct in 12 months. And the reason being is because it has been on my shelves when I only had one shelf. I remember getting this from my little brother. I don't know where he got this book from, but he ended up not wanting it anymore. And so I took it over. And because it wasn't something that I ever picked for myself, it just stayed untouched on my shelves. And so this is going to be my final attempt to try and read it. Because if not, it's just taking up space that I could be using for something else. And that book is Empty by K.M. Walton. The only thing that I know about this book is that it's about a girl who is suffering from depression and just everything in her life just doesn't seem to be going in the way that she wants it to. And so that's all I need to that's all that I know about it. Um but the tagline on the front literally says sometimes you just want to disappear. I don't necessarily know if this is going to be something that I am going to enjoy because as much as mental health novels are important to read, when it comes to depression, it just kind of hits close to home for me, especially from being so far away from my own home. Depression is very present in my life because I am homesick a lot. And so this might not be a good read for me, to be honest, but I need to at least try. If I get between the 50 and 100 page mark and I say I'm done, then I'm done and it comes off my shelf. But it is going to eventually be either read or come off the shelf. And the last, but certainly not least, we come to my brown TBR book, which is Pride by E.B. Zaboy. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling that is set in, oh, it's set in New York City. Why am I not surprised? But it says, Zuri Benitez has pride, Brooklyn pride. Family pride and pride in her Afro Latino roots, but pride might not be enough to save her neighborhood from changing into something unrecognizable. And so like I said, is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. So I'm assuming there's going to be some prejudices between probably a rival gang or a rival demographic within New York. And so I have had this on my shelf for way too long, but I really, really wanted to pick it up. So I've had it for that long, which is why it's just never come out on an unhaul. So I really need to read this. I have not actually read the original Pride and Prejudice, but I have read so many retellings of it that I feel like I have, and I love the movie, so I feel like I've got the vibe. So this needs to be read. It really desperately needs to be read. If you have read any of these books, please let me know down below in the comments. If you have any other suggestions for any other colors, let me know. I know that I am struggling with orange and yellow primarily. So please let me know if you have any great recommendations. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.